Brian Edmonston, welcome to the John Riley Project.
Thank you, John.
The fabulous podcast studio in the converted living room.
You've got to be on this if you're running for an office in Poway, apparently.
Okay, so how you doing? How's the campaign going?
It's going well. It's going well.
So you're running for mayor.
I'm running for mayor. You're going for all or nothing, John.
Yeah, right. Okay,
no halfway for me.
Okay, chairman of the board.
Well, maybe.
Okay. So how's the campaign going?
Good. You know, I'm learning a lot. I'm speaking to a lot of people.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm just trying to, take it one step at a time, as they say.
Right. So when you're talking to people out in the community, what are some of the things you're hearing? Are there certain themes, consistent concerns, or consistent things that people like to celebrate or complain about? What do you hear?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the themes is there's been a little bit of deterioration in Poway. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the landscaping, the parks, even I guess the buildings. People don't feel like it's as well kept as it used to be, and I think that I'm in agreement with that. Mm-hmm. Things happen, but it would be nice if the city maintained itself a little bit better. Another thing I hear is the city is a little maybe too accommodating to developers, and they don't listen and take into account the issues of the residents around that development. Now, we're going to have development, but I think the city council should do everything it can to make that development as to minimize the unpleasantness of that development for the people around it.
Right. Well, that's a good topic. We'll explore that.
Right.
But I'm just trying to get an idea. Like, just kind of put topics on the table. What are some other things that you're hearing out there?
Certainly the Poway Road specific plan is something a lot of people want to talk about. Many, amazingly enough, are just discovering it and are somewhat shocked about it. And I often get people not believing me when I say, did you know they just changed the zoning so that there's going to be 1,148 units between Carriage Road and Community. And they're going to come fast. And they say, no, that can't be possible. I say, yeah.
Well, this is, we're going to talk about Stoneridge, but there was a vote because they had to have a vote to change the zoning with Stoneridge.
Right.
But why was the zoning changed on Poway Road without a vote?
Excellent question. Poway Road was already zoned for reasonable or significant density or significant numbers of units. Let's put it that way. But there was other things that prevented those units from being economically viable. Okay, and these are things like height restrictions, density restrictions, parking. Mm-hmm. And there's one other number of floors, number of stories, mm-hmm. So what they did is they relaxed all of those restrictions, They decreased the amount of parking you would have to have. They increased the height you could build to. They increased the number of stories you could have. And whatever the other one I said, but the density. So mm-hmm. The number of
it almost
units,
doubled.
The number of units per acre was almost doubled. So, for example, the Outpost project, which is the first one that's been, I guess, completely entitled, is on less than 2 acres. And they're building 50 units, And that's because they were able to achieve the highest density level of 35 units or dwellings per acre. And they got to go, I think, to the maximum 4 stories, but they definitely got to go to the maximum height of 40 feet. And in some cases, they were going a little bit of an exception even to go to 45 for the elevator shafts.
So in those cases, then, the the city council, I guess, has certain leeway that they can change zones as the city council because they have authority.
Yep.
But maybe there are other categories of the general plan that require a vote.
That's exactly right. So there's certain places that are zoned for open space or a very rural number of units. So 1 unit per acre, or sometimes 1 unit per 3 acres or 7 acres even. And those are covered by FF. So if you want to increase the number of dwellings per acre in those zones, you have to go through FF. When it's already zoned for 7 or 10 dwellings or whatever per acre, then it's a matter of how you can fit them in. And the city has total control over that. You don't need to go through the voters to change the way you can build it. And the other restrictions, the setbacks, all those things are still under the control of the city council.
Interesting. So I remember for a long time that on Poway Road, they had a limit of 2 stories.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and this is what probably changed. But then I remember when Perry Ford had the big remodel, and that structure is taller than 2 stories. And I was always wondering, did they make an exception to the zoning, or did they make an exception because the auto dealers are such great sales tax contributors to the city and they had influence? But now that they've changed it for this whole Poway Road Corridor, it's almost become a moot point.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question, but you're right. It is a moot point at this time because it's 35, 40 feet, and even 45 feet is doable now. You have to go through a few hoops, but they're not really that demanding. So that's going to be the norm in that area. So
is your opinion that it's going to be too dense? That there's not going to be enough parking, or what's your take on
I have a couple issues. And so just to give you a little of my background, I've owned a home in Poway for 19 years.
Oh, great.
But for 2 of those years, I lived in Spain, okay?
España.
Yeah. And Spain is the ultimate in mixed-use urban living, okay?
Where in Spain were you?
Seville or Seville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We lived in a 1,500 square foot, 5-bedroom apartment, right?
Oh, wow.
It doesn't seem possible, right?
Wow.
But
okay.
It is.
Yeah. And
that's how most people live. In fact, ours was slightly probably, people kind of thought we were the rich Americans because we had a little bit bigger place than a lot of people. A lot of people were in smaller 3 and 4 bedroom, 1,200 square foot places.
So this was mixed use, like were you surrounded by restaurants or commercial activity?
Absolutely. All sorts of businesses, restaurants, entertainment, movie theaters, and a bowling alley, believe it or not, in Spain, because I know that's a hot topic here in Poway, and parks and bike lanes and the whole 9 yards. Okay.
Okay.
And so the way to make that, and I loved it, by the way. I loved it. All right.
Nice.
It was the best. Some of my best memories. Okay. But the way what you need to do to make that work is you have to have all the amenities nearby.
Well,
because you never have to get in your car. In fact, my car gathered dust. When I would finally go to drive it after a couple weeks, I would have to dust off the windshield because it would be covered because I hadn't driven it in so long.
Yeah.
Now, so get back to the point. If you're going to develop with high density, which is going to happen, I hope it's not as much as they are planning, but there's going to be some. You need to put the stuff. You need to make high density, high amenity. They go hand in hand.
Sure.
And that plan, the amenities on that plan are completely insufficient. There's a chapter 5 which talks about the different things they can put in, but there's no place to put the stuff. They haven't set aside space for these important amenities.
Like what, parks?
Well, certainly like parks, right?
Okay.
The easiest improvement I could see, I went through it and I said, it's obvious Poway Community Park is not big enough for the 3,000 new residents that would be expected under this plan. But fortunately, I said, and I did this before I was going to run for mayor, John.
Okay.
This is about 6 months ago, and I have the letters to prove it.
Okay. I believe you.
I said, oh my gosh, what luck. The city owns the lots right next to the Poway Community Park. They can expand it so easily, right? So I sent a letter in to city council, suggesting this idea. Nothing. And after about a month, Dave Gresh talked to me, and he said, this is critical, highly valuable commercial space, and we really need to use it. And then I had a talk with Tina White, and she kind of gave me the same thing. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but you're putting a lot of new development in this area, and you're not putting the extra other stuff that you need to have to make it truly, a pleasant living experience. People buy it. People will cram in there just to be in the Poway school system. But they'll figure out after 6 months or a year that it wasn't as good a deal as they hoped, right? Because all you're going to have is this little park, and I spend a lot of time in Poway Community Park because my kid plays baseball down there, and it's not very big, actually, because I'll show up maybe an hour early for his game, or I'll drop him off for warm up, and I'll walk around that park. I'll take 3 walks around the park. 15 minutes I killed. It's nothing. It's not a very big space, so it needs to be bigger. The other thing you can do is really be a stickler on the mixed use part of mixed use. Okay, so you can't allow a building to go up with 90% residential and only 10% commercial, okay? And I know maybe the economics of it are that that would make more money for the developer, because that commercial space will not rent out for as high a rent as you would hope. But you have to hold the line and say, no, you have to make this available, even if it's a lower rent than you want. You have to make it available as a commercial space so that someone can put in a smaller supermarket, or maybe a bakery, or and it's only viable because maybe the rent's not that high. But for the residents around there, they'll start walking to that place. They might do their big grocery shopping at Costco, but they're midweek. Maybe they'll go to these smaller stores that are available to them, because that's how it was in Spain.
So this is kind of the definition of urban planning, right? Or in our case, suburban planning.
Suburban
right?
planning, yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so I noticed on the development at the Poway Bowl, that was that proposal was exactly that situation. It was 10%, if that, commercial, and it was just going to be restaurants. It wasn't going to be, retail or recreation. And so those people, every one of those people, when they had to do the smallest errand, was going to have to get in the car and drive,
right?
Because there was going to be nothing around them, no place for them, not even a CVS or anything to get stuff. And hopefully we can even do better than that. They can do some of their grocery shopping close by. So they need to make that. So I would change the Poway Road specific plan to have a 20 in that, especially in that really tight middle part, because there's
community to carriage.
Yeah, right in that tight middle part, exactly. Yeah. I would say 25%. Commercial mandatory. Now, maybe a little further away, you might be able to get a little bit lower.
So some of that could be retail. It could be restaurants. It might even be like business offices, like a law office or something like that.
People get a job there. And this city council is very hesitant to exert their will, exert their power. But you can, and I think they should, and I would as mayor. You can put in there, it's got to have a recreational component to it, okay? An entertainment component to it, okay?
Right.
And that's gently suggesting you might want to keep a small bowling alley in there, because this will be a lot easier for us to sell to the people who want to have something to do, want to have a place they can walk to, if you do that. Now, you can maybe find another commercial recreational facility. People are very creative. There's all these businesses up on the business park where kids jump around and things like that. But we'd like to encourage you to put something like that in this area, and that would be something I would do as mayor. If it's not quite as profitable for them, well, that's the way it goes. It's part of your responsibility, and it's part of my responsibility to make sure that the people who live there have everything they need, okay, and that they're really going to get that urban living experience.
Sure. So that's Nona. She's visiting you.
Woo.
She heard that you're running for mayor,
All
and she
right.
wants to check it out.
Cool, man.
Yeah, she wants to hear your campaign platform.
I want to dog parks. I'm all about the dog parks. Okay.
You are. Let's talk about dog parks are an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Because at least it's calmed down now. But a few years ago, the folks that lived around Silverset
Right.
really wanted to have an off-leash park, and
I see. Right.
and they had sort of unofficially had kind of took over that softball field that was enclosed.
I got you.
And they had dogs running around there, and then the city kind of said, no, you can't do that. We have a dog park down here at the community park.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. It's interesting. I have an apartment down in East Village, San Diego, and there's a park there called Fault Line Park.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people have dogs down there. And people would walk their dogs all over the park. And and when there's so many dogs, it's not usable, frankly, because you know why.
Yeah.
We all know why. And so they set aside a place for dog park, and it was a win-win because they got their place where they could let them run free, and the rest of the people got a park that wasn't contaminated. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense to put dog-specific areas in these parks. And because it benefits the dog owners, but it also benefits the other people who don't want their kids playing in an area where dogs have been just recently.
Yeah. No, I got you.
So to me, it
don't
makes
want
sense.
any surprises where they step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And now, if that makes the parks too small, then that kind of goes to one of my big problems, is that our park system is antiquated, and we need to look at it again and see if we can expand any of these parks or add more smaller parks. I think we're doing well for the 1980s and the 1990s, but now we're in 30 years later, and the standards the expectations are higher, and we need to step up and meet those expectations.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the parks in town are an interesting issue because, like on your website, you said we haven't built any new parks in how long, and it's you're right. It hasn't. I can't recall like the most recent brand new park that we've built. And,
right.
So the it might be the Sportsplex, and I don't even know if that really counts as a park.
It doesn't really count, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
I'll agree with something.
But on one hand, some of the parks are maintained, sometimes by like little leagues and things, and those are usually in good shape, the ball fields.
Yeah.
But other parks, like you go to like Stoneridge, where it's just like acres of grass, which is nice, but it's not utilized or optimized. I've always been a proponent of upgrading the facilities at our existing parks to make the ball fields like tournament level. And then you could actually have them as a magnet for economic development, bringing people into Poway.
I mean, I could not agree with you more. Yeah, and I know exactly what you're thinking. Poway Community Park. That's two big fields. You could host some really nice tournaments there, fill up some hotels, get people eating at restaurants down there.
Yeah,
but those aren't nice enough to do that now.
No, those fields need major upgrades.
Yeah,
I mean from like laser leveling
exactly.
and quality turf. I mean, right now the city has they have a guy that mows the lawn, right? And then they'll irrigate it or but it's not at the level of tournament quality.
I feel like that people just think I'm pandering when I talk about parks so much, but I really think they're important to your community. I mean, it's one of the 3 or 4 reasons that you decide to move from one area versus another area. And, when you go to these newer communities, those baseball fields are laser lined, and they are nice.
Yeah, they're good.
So yes, let's do that. Let's make it happen. We have the money, and there's no reason why our fields have to look, so shoddy. I don't know. Maybe it's too strong a word, but a little rough.
Well, yeah. Well, they are. I mean, it's true. But you take it from a broader sort of societal perspective. A lot of us are cocooning in our homes. Where our nose is buried in our digital device, including for some of our friends that are listening or watching to this podcast right now.
Sure.
But the parks definitely are a place where, the people in the community can, kind of see people, meet people.
Yeah.
It's almost like going to church or something, right? You get to see friends and how you doing and how's the family, that sort of thing. But, like, for example, where I live now, there is no park in walking distance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some trails.
I know.
Which are cool. I like that. But it's not like, let's go, throw the football around kind of park. There's nothing around here.
No, and this is a funny thing because a lot of people from other parts, we're in North Poway, in case you don't know that. And I live in North Poway as well. And I guess we have a reputation as, I don't know, spoiled posh. I don't know what it would be, but the truth is, if you look on the map, we have very little public supported open space here. It's Val Verde Park, and that's it. You have to go almost down to Twin Peaks, right, to get to some real other parks.
Now, we're like Lake Poway.
You could say Lake Poway.
Yeah.
And
then there's the Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. Now the trails and all that stuff. I'm with you on that.
But we're talking about like real grass.
Grassy kind of recreational places. And Lake Poway does have one. A little out of the way, but it's there for sure. Anyway, but the point is, there's not enough of those type of spaces overall, but in particular here, and it'd be nice if we could find some places to put them.
Well, it would be wonderful if you could do that. The question is where do you get the land?
Right.
Can the city buy the land? I mean, we don't have a lot of flat dirt here left in Poway. Most of it's been developed. The few places that haven't been developed are really along Poway Road, right?
Strangely enough, yeah. Strangely enough.
So, or at least that are good candidates for redevelopment.
Right.
But and then there's the whole Stoneridge, and a lot of people have said, the city should buy that and convert that into a park, convert it into a public golf course.
Right.
But the city council has been very clear that they have no intention to buy that land.
Right.
So let's talk about Stoneridge, because I know you were one of the spokespeople to vote against the zoning change.
Correct.
So walk us through that. How did you get involved in it, and what are some of the hot buttons, maybe some behind the scenes things that we are not aware of?
So this is kind of my journey to running for mayor. So I came back from vacation. It was in Spain, and I read the paper and I saw this measure. I really hadn't even heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
Measure A is coming up, and it's going to change the zoning and put these condos there. Mm-hmm. So I said, immediately, this is not going to pass. This is Poway.
Right.
We don't go for stuff like this.
Yeah, NIMBY.
And I said, but the city council is not going to be ready for what's going to happen next. I need to go talk to them.
Yeah.
I never, ever had talked to them. I mean, they didn't know who the heck I was. They mispronounced my name, everything. So I go down there in flip-flops and T-shirt.
Right.
Like, hey, guys, when this thing fails, we gotta take it by eminent domain, and you guys should be getting ready for that right now. Because we want to hit the ground running, because you don't want this thing deteriorating in your neighborhood, right?
Right.
I'm like, I feel like this is like the most obvious thing in the world, and they're gonna be like, well, great idea,
Yeah. Brian, you've saved us.
Yes, I really thought that. I thought they don't see that. They'll do it, but they'll wait too long to do it, because, and they looked at me like I was from outer space, John, and I said, what am I saying that they don't agree with? And
who did you talk to?
The city council. I went to those 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes you get before.
Oh yeah, the public comments.
Public comments.
Okay.
I did in public comments.
All right.
So that you can find the video. It's in August before the ballot, and I thought I couldn't think of what it was. And then I thought to myself, they think it's going to pass. I said they don't want to do this because they think it's going to pass. I said, no way, this thing's going to pass. But then I met up with some no-one-ayers. And
no one airs.
Yeah, and
no one airs.
I just helped out, and they kind of, I guess they thought I was a little more presentable, or I could speak a little more clearly. I don't know, but they kind of made me the lead in a certain strange way, and I wrote a big editorial, and it was defeated. Okay, it's the strangest thing is looking back on it, how late we started. We did not put out the first sign till right about this time. Okay.
So like about
Late
a month
September.
and a half before
a month. So they were coasting, and apparently they thought they were going to coast into a victory.
There was a lot of social media activity those weeks leading to the election.
Right, and then it just flared up. The signs came out. Social media started, and but the thing is, it wasn't going to pass anyways. I didn't, and so people want to blame me. You can blame me, but it wasn't going to pass. Now I probably moved the needle over a little bit. It would probably not have been defeated by as much, but it was not going to pass.
I didn't think it was going to pass either.
Yeah. So here we are. So then I thought that they're going to realize that this can't possibly tolerate this.
Right.
Is,
Where's that Brian guy? Get him back over here.
No, nothing. And anyway, so to make a long story short, I realized that it's not just Stoneridge. This is a symptom of something larger, okay? That this city council thinks Poway is done. That all the parks we have are adequate. That all the amenities we have are good enough. And we don't need any more, and we don't want to spend any more, and we need to focus on other stuff like increasing our revenue base. And I said, well, that's a surprise. That's not the Poway I seem to remember. That when I moved here, that's not what I thought Poway was about. I thought Poway was about always getting a little bit better, always trying to be, and this is my kind of cliche phrase, coastal class. Okay,
I get it. I know what you mean.
I think Poway is a coastal class, but we're not on the coast, right?
I hear you.
And yeah, that's probably a little ambitious, right? But we always want to be striving.
Sure, of
we're
course.
like the plucky younger brother who
Right.
won't get out of your way, right? We're Poway and we're proud.
Yeah, like Peter Brady.
Yeah, exactly. We're the Peter Brady of towns, exactly. And but I feel like we've lost that, and maybe that's just a natural change of a community. But I'm running a mayor to give people the possibility of bringing it back, of having a more aggressive mayor, someone who I'm going to use the leadership word. I'm going to try to, not only find out what people want, but kind of explain to them, offer them ideas, and pursue those ideas if I feel like there's support for it.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I feel like the current city council is, a little more passive. They're kind of just keep it going. They'll tout their record of good streets and keeping the budget trim and all that stuff, which is fine. But that's just kind of status quo. I would like to do. I think we could do a little better. I think Poway has a ways to go before it can reach its full potential. Okay?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always things you can do to improve.
Right.
I would imagine that the city council is probably thinking this whole Poway Road thing is a big step forward, for that initiative.
I think they do genuinely. I agree.
Yeah. But to your point, other parts of Poway, it's just kind of steady as she goes, right?
Right. Yeah. And the Poway Road specific plan is. It's dangerous. I mean, in terms of, it's a big step, and if you do it wrong, big consequences. You could do it right, and it could turn out great if you do it right. But the details matter. The little, what I think you need to have the extra. You need to bring up the other stuff with it, not just the development side of it. And I'm not sure if that's going to happen. And if you do it wrong, it's Mira Mesa. If you do it right, it's, San Marcos, I guess, or whatever you think is a successful example of that.
Right.
And I'm a little nervous. I would say more than a little nervous about which direction it is.
I mean, everyone is usually, I'll say the word fearful, but fearful of change, right?
Yeah,
people are like, oh my gosh, what's changing? And what's interesting though is this whole conversation about this transformation of Poway Road has been some level of discussion since I've lived in Poway.
Yeah.
And I moved here in '96, and it seems like now it's finally happening. But maybe for some people, they're finally like listening, or they're finally tuned in, or it rose to such a level that they said, "Oh, okay, now it's real."
It's absolutely true. I mean, I think it's taken a lot of people by surprise. And I would hope, even if I don't win, that the city council would I understand they've been doing this for a long time, so they think they've gotten all the input, they've dotted all the I's, they've crossed all the T's. But I can tell you that a lot of people are just coming to see this for what it is. And I would ask them to maybe take another pass at it, for a PRSP 2.0, so to speak.
Okay, sure.
And because I think another round of input would be good.
What else would you change other than the ratio of residential to commercial? Are there other things in the plan that you think we need to make an adjustment?
Yeah, I'd be tougher on the parking. And I know it bumps up the cost. But if you underpark a place, they're driving they're parking in the streets, and there's parts of Poway where it's already bumper to bumper in front of houses, okay? And that would just make it worse. So I would be tough on the parking.
Well, I would imagine that a lot of these units, even if they're studios or one bedrooms, there's probably going to be
a couple
there, and they're going to probably have 2 cars. And if I saw they reduce the parking spaces per unit from about 1.75 to 1.25, is that right?
Correct. Yep.
So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of cars on the street.
Yeah, and the other thing was you're able to share the mixed-use parking with the guest parking, but people have guests, and I own some rental units, and I have ones that are in developments or condo complexes that don't have enough parking. And it's my number one complaint from the tenants is, can you please find a parking space for me? Buy a parking space, something. I'm like, there's none left. And when I go to visit or do repairs or whatever on those units, I can't find a space to park because all the guest spots are taken. So I think I have a little firsthand experience on that.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I would do, and this goes to the idea that this council's a little bit developer friendly. They're kind of, maybe a little too close to the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, is there's no builder fees, there's no impact fees on these units that I'm aware of. There needs to be impact fees because these units are going to make an impact on the community, and there should be some money available to correct that, okay, or just for it.
So this is kind of like a tax on the builder where they pay X number of dollars per unit.
Yeah, but it's a one-time. Yeah.
And then that money is used to make parks or
exactly
to, it's almost like Melrose in a way, right?
It's a mini short-term Melrose.
Yeah, so you're going to maybe pay for extra sewage or water lines or whatever.
Yep. And but I would put the bulk of that towards new recreational and amenities for that area because they're going to need them. So that would be and my big changes would be those things. I tell you the first one is very good. I'd love to see the business plan for that because he's dropping a lot of money on that underground parking.
Oh, for the outpost.
Yeah, the outpost.
Yeah.
But I salute him. Hey, fantastic. And if they could encourage more underground parking, that would be a great thing because I think that does help a lot in kind of reducing the impact of all these cars. If they're underground, you can't see them. It's
right.
Nice.
Well, yeah. I mean that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about going 2 stories down.
Phenomenal.
And I was just talking to John Ryan about this last night, when Pete Neild was here, he's running for city council. He's very concerned about like water tables, and that's kind of near where 2 creeks sort of intersect. And so are they going to be able to dig that low? Is the ground structure, and he's a scientist, but I would imagine they've done the impact studies. They know.
Pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good.
They
now.
know.
Right, pretty good.
But I think once this outpost is built, it'll sort of be a proof of concept.
Yeah.
And then all the other developers will go, okay, let's get started, right?
Right. I mean, if they do it right, it could be nice. But that area, I would just like to see in that Poway Road specific plan in Chapter 5. Exactly where you're going to put.
What is Chapter 5? What do you mean?
It's I don't know what it's called, but it's where they talk about like the walking paths and all the tree-lined streets, and they show all these pictures of this great stuff, and there's no place. Where does it go?
So is this like
It's like the amenities section of the Poway Road specific plan.
Oh, okay. All right.
If you go through it, and lots of great pictures. no place that it's going to go.
No like bullet points or
why. I want to see, okay, where's this going to go? Where's that going to go?
Yeah, that's fair.
And because I don't think there'll be room for it. I don't think there is a place for it to go. And the only place that's obvious is again, Poway Community Park, where you got this lot right next to it that's a storage area. You could really do some good things if you open that up a little bit.
So what's the process? Like, let's just take a storage unit example, a bowling alley, the thrift stores. That's private property. So
not the first one.
Okay.
The storage units are that thing is owned by Poway. Poway purchased 5 to 7 lots as part of that redevelopment authority thing, right?
Okay. Yeah, they made that was like 10 years ago or something like that.
And they've bounced around, and now they've got them all in one place under their control. So most of those lots right next to Poway Community Park are city owned. There's a few that they're and that's what Lincoln Sudbury, not Lincoln Sudbury. What's the first name of that company? I'm saying the towns of Massachusetts, Middlebury, Sudbury. All right. All of a sudden I'm having a flashback to Massachusetts.
Are we talking about the
Meridian Sudbury? Okay.
Okay.
So Meridian Sudbury is got this exclusive negotiation period, and the purpose of it is for them to pick off the last few lots around the city-owned lots. And when they secure contracts for those last few lots, they're going to do a deal with the city to develop the whole thing into one, super
so
downtown
this is probably between the library and the bowling alley.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, and it's on that side of the street.
And it bumps right up to the park, skateboard park. And I think you need to set aside a good portion of that to make that part bigger. But once that goes, then that park's boxed in, you're done. And maybe you can put one on the edges of the city, although I don't even know where those would go, because Metate would be the best area for those, but that a lot of people think that's got special natural significance, grasslands.
Right.
And they know better than me, and if that's the case, then don't want to put a city park there. So I have a hard time even figuring out where you go after that, right?
Well, it would be kind of, we're just kind of, dreaming here to a bit, at least I am. So imagine if there were some mixed use and some apartments, and then right out there sort of, back door was this expanded part of Community Park.
Yeah. No,
that could be wonderful.
I love it. No, John, I can vision it.
Yeah.
I can see the beer garden right there, John.
Okay. Well, that's going to be in the Outpost. Isn't there going to be a beer garden?
There'll be a brewery, but I'm talking a beer garden that overlooks, that's like, it fades into the park. Like you get beer here, and then there's grass.
So now this is a selling point right here.
A true garden.
Okay.
And
all right.
I could see it would lend itself to that quite easily.
So but there's still private property that's in the mix here that we've got to be addressed, right?
Yeah, but they're already buying them out. That's part of this Middlebury Sudbury Meridian Sudbury company. Okay. But the main lot is the one with those long storage units.
Yeah.
That one's owned by the city now. That's the one where you'd get the most bang for your buck in terms of just extending the park into that.
Well, I'm sure like the private property that does exist, those owners see the writing on the wall, and they're probably saying, "Hey, now I can cash out," and maybe they have a little bit of leverage in the negotiation.
Right. I know they've extended it. They had a 6-month, and they've extended it. So yes, they're probably working them for the last few dollars.
This is kind of a crazy tangent, but I know that there's along that strip, there's the Poway TV store. Yeah. And that's like a relic from the 1950s or something,
Yeah. So, I just got my TV repaired there.
Yeah. So I imagine that whole area, it'll just be completely transformed.
I've drawn a map, and I've looked at which ones they own and which they don't. They own most, but there's a few pockets that they don't own. It really got split up. It really got split up at some point. So
let's shift gears for a minute, because I know you and I met, a number of years ago.
Yeah.
When both of our kids were playing Little League.
That's right, John.
And at Poway National at the fields right off of Palmerado.
It's all right now, Poway American people. Still vote for me, okay?
Okay, yeah. Well, the leagues, are they still doing interleague?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
good. Yeah, that's a good
no,
thing.
it is good. It is
That's
good.
a good thing. I remember that happened. We made that happen my son's last year.
That's right. That's right.
So,
no, it's very good. It's very successful.
So tell me about your family and your children and everything. So what's your story?
So I have 5 kids. One lives in Huntington Beach. He's past college. I just have a freshman at UCSD. And then I have 2 boys at the high school, a senior and a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And then I have one boy who is a 5th grader at Painted Rock.
You have an adult and a 5th grader. So that's a lot of years of diapers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Could you imagine yourself, John, with a 5th grader right now?
No. I'm a recent empty nester.
Exactly.
So my son.
John, I coached minor B baseball this year.
Minor B.
Yeah, minor B. By the way, we won the league.
All right, what's your team name?
We were the Diamondbacks. I'd like to thank Cal, my pitcher, hitter, and fielder.
Okay, so you have one of those superstars.
Yeah. I got lucky.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Those are good times.
The best, John.
Yeah.
The best.
And those are good fields. But but
John, those fields are fantastic.
Yeah,
the major league field.
Because I remember they used to bring in Kurt. Was it Yoder?
Yeah, and they have a new guy now, I think.
Yeah, but this is like, professional level, like the guys that do Petco Park, and I just remember being at those fields, and it was I felt like I was in the. This is going to sound corny, but I was in the presence of God. I mean, it was this gorgeous baseball field. And I just remember when I was a kid playing ball, I mean, the outfield, they got weeds and gopher holes and all kinds of stuff.
We do interleague play, so we go to Poway American. And unfortunately, they don't have as much control.
Right,
because those are unified school district maintained fields.
Right.
And it's night and day. It's not even.
But the Poway National, those are school district fields too.
Yes, but we're responsible for the maintenance.
Right.
Poway American, the maintenance is done by the school district, as far as I know.
Right.
Poway American does not have a lawnmower or any of that stuff, to my knowledge.
Okay.
And so a couple sprinklers go out. Well, the school might take a month to fix those, and so a quarter of the outfield is just brown. And that's out of their control. So there's nothing they can do.
Well, I know there's a group from Poway American that wants to put in turf fields, and I know they're trying to raise money, and the city said they'd be able to match some of it, and I haven't heard much from that group lately.
I don't know. What is the price on that, John?
Oh, it's 7 figures, easy.
7?
Yeah, it's over $1 million.
It's over $1 million? Under 2?
I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I was mayor, I would be doing everything I could. That would be a higher priority. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
To get these fields. Now, maybe I can't do that. That's a lot of money. I agree. But, I mean,
but
those get a lot of use. Those are used for soccer. Those are used for
But they were
baseball.
talking like, this is tournament quality, and it was going to be turf. It was going to be lights. I mean, it was going to be a first-class facility, not just getting some nice grass.
All right. I'd have to see the whole. See the whole thing. But that thing. That field it gets so much use, so many
Soccer,
people on
football.
that field, lacrosse probably.
Yeah.
That for it not to be top quality is just, it's a travesty. Now I know the Poway Unified thing complicates everything, right? I would imagine.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
But I know that group went to the city and asked for money, and they had the reserve fund, and they're prioritizing, I guess, the Espola, renovation, and I think that was like a couple of notches down the punch card list.
Okay.
For those fields at Tierra Bonita. But then they went to the school district and asked for money, and that's that's comical. They're not going to give you anything.
They're gonna charge you money.
Right. Well, because they're in a deficit.
Right.
So there's no way they're going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to wake up that sleeping giant of Poway Unified, because if they notice you, they're going to try to get money out of you.
So you have the youngest that's playing minor B.
Minor B, yeah.
And are your other children, are they playing sports, or what are their activities in high school?
My son plays baseball at Poway High, and then my other son played tennis. I think he's probably not going to play this year. But they're pretty active. My daughter played soccer. And I'll just say, I'll try to give myself a plug here, right?
Yeah, go.
It's a part-time job. And so city council tends to have empty nesters. It's just a fact. They have the time. and they don't have, hopefully they have the money. But I think it lends itself to falling out of touch with the community. All right?
Okay, well, this is a nice transition point, because there is one exception, and our new council member, Kaylin Frank, has a newborn. I mean, the child is less than a year, right?
Good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
Congratulations.
I mean, it makes me remember the days when I was a new parent.
Yeah.
When we were new parents, excuse me. Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, I don't want to talk about Kaylin. I mean, Kaylin's a nice person, and I've met her. I want to talk about the process of the appointment, and because people have strong opinions on this, and I just kind of want to see where you line up on it.
Yeah. Well, just, if we're just going to look at the selection, I think it was a poor choice, not because Kaylin is not a good person or a competent person, but she hasn't lived in Poway in a long time. And for something that she was supposed to come up to speed very quickly, that was one of their points. It's frankly absurd to pick that person, because she's going to be she's going to be learning for 1, 2, 3 years before she comes up to speed, not just the 4 or 5 months that she had. So from a technical point of view, the pick was absurd. And I'm going to take advantage just to hammer, a little bit of hammer, I guess, my opponent there. The mayor exercised his judgment. You got to witness the mayor exercise his judgment in an important choice for the city. And if you think that was a bad choice, like I do, then and frankly a lot of people do, then that says something about his judgment. Okay. And he's using that same judgment for a lot of the other decisions that maybe you're not so knowledgeable about. So that's just something to take into account when you're deciding on who to vote for. Okay. Now, there's another level to the whole thing.
Oh, well, let's go there. Okay.
Right. Was it, it's such an absurd pick that it almost felt like there was something going on behind the scenes. And after a lot of people did digging, and I salute them, because that's an important, part of being knowledgeable and politically active. And they found a lot of these connections between Kaylin and Voss that were from outside Poway. So Voss is the mayor is on Sandag. And actually, he's very high up he's like the vice chairman or something.
I think he's the number two guy.
Bangs the gavel. It's very impressive, actually.
Right on. Good for him.
And Kaylin's mother is in some capacity involved with Sandag. She's listed on the Sandag board. I think she's an alternate, but she works for the water board, or the water, San Diego Water, or whatever it is called.
And she's the former mayor of Encinitas.
And she's the former mayor of Encinitas.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of connections. Well, and the mayor campaigns on behalf of the current or another former mayor of Encinitas, Christine Gaspar. Is that it? I can't remember her first name.
Yeah. I think it's Kristen.
Kristen. Okay, thank you. And so there's nothing wrong with all of that. But when then you pick someone who is more associated with that activity than your own city, it raises a question as to why, were these other connections the reason that you made that pick? And maybe there's nothing nefarious there, but you're doing favors for other people, and maybe you just like that person and you felt like it was a nice thing to do for them, but that made it took your eyes off of the best needs of Poway, in my opinion. And I think there might be more to it in terms of, I think maybe that's why we're seeing the deterioration of a lot of what's going on in Poway, because the mayor does seem to be more focused on county politics than he does on local politics.
Really?
I do think that. Yeah.
Well, make your case. I mean, what do you think?
He's always on these fundraisers for the county Republican Party. And I don't know. I know it's not partisan, but a county party. Okay.
Okay.
And I think that he went to a transportation seminar in Nashville or something like that. I believe, if I'm wrong, I'm sure people will correct me. And again, nothing wrong with that, except Poway. You're the mayor of Poway, and that's what you should be focused on. Now, I'll give you another example, and I don't know if they're connected, but this whole LMD vote, right?
LMD, landscape
maintenance management districts.
Yeah.
If you don't know what those are, it's a kind of special assessment, almost like a tax, but not quite, that is used for many purposes. One of them is to maintain our great streets like Pomerado and Twin Peaks. All the trees on the side of the street are paid for. They're no longer, they're in the red. These districts are in the red, and they had to they tried to take a vote, have a vote to increase the amount people pay. And it's only some of the houses that pay, so some people view it as a little unfair, but that's the way it's structured right now. They prepared this this new LMD, which was higher. They sent it out to the voters, and then it just sat on their hands, and they had nothing to say about it. And when it came back, it lost, and it lost pretty badly. Now, if I'm mayor, I would feel responsible. I would feel a responsibility to get out in front and show some leadership on that.
Right.
And at the very least, we write a 500-page editorial for the chieftain.
500 page.
I mean, sorry, 500 word
right.
editorial for the chieftain, which
Yeah.
will basically publish anything the mayor says, explaining why we need this and why it's important to Poway and why it's fair.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic because on one hand, it makes sense that maybe the people that live in a certain community would cooperatively pay for the maintenance around their area, but it's inconsistent. Like in other parts of the city covers the cost, but in other communities, the homeowners do, or the homeowners are taxed by the city on their property tax bill, but they pay. So yeah, I'm always concerned with the consistency of it. So we're talking about like Twin Peaks, right? Where all those eucalyptus trees
Twin Peaks,
are?
Yeah, and Espola. Sorry, Espola. If I said Pomerado, I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
It's Espola.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's always a good thing for a leader to lead.
Yeah.
Always a good thing. Do want to circle back to one other thing. You were talking about the mayor and being involved in county level politics and everything. Again, I'm not trying to defend the mayor, but his predecessors have done that. Jim Cunningham was served on a lot of county boards. Isn't it just sort of customary that they do a little bit of that? But
yeah, I'll just say this. I'll say this. The previous mayors, Mickey and I guess Higginson, Don, right? Don.
Mm-hmm.
They had issues, but I always felt like they were in charge of the city. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I just don't get that feeling. I get the feeling that this is a person who represents some interests, okay, but and is popular and is at least within his own group of people,
right?
But he doesn't take a hands-on approach. Let's just put it that way. Now I'm trying to say I think it's Sandag because he's very active in that. He's all these videos and stuff of him campaigning, and so I'm going to say that I think it is, but maybe he just doesn't have the style that I like.
Right.
But to me, it felt, and the other thing is, it felt like he was a little more active initially, and he's less active now. So it's just my impression.
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons why you're running, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so you found that you're witnessing what the city council and what our mayor was doing, and you probably had an epiphany moment, maybe like you're in the shower or something, like, hey, I can do that, and I think I can do better.
Well, I just said, this is not what I like, okay? I don't like this. And there's probably a reasonable number of people who think like me. I don't know if it's a majority, but there's probably a fair number of people who think like me. And I saw that it didn't look like there was going to be an opponent. And I said, I just can't do that. I just can't let that happen. I got to give people a choice.
Yeah.
And just in case there's 51% of the people who don't like it.
Right.
Now, if I lose, then that's the Poway is has a different set of priorities than I do. But at least they had a choice.
Yeah.
At least they had,
Well, and you're brave enough to to step forward and to talk about the issues that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
And you're right. I mean, there are a lot of people. I mean, the issues that we're talking about. There are a lot of people that feel very passionately about what you're representing.
Right. Absolutely. I know there are because I talk to them. I just don't know, if it's a majority or not. And I will I'll accept the ultimate, vote, and I'll be happier knowing that that's what people really wanted. What I would be unhappy is if they got that because they didn't have a choice.
Right. I hear you. I got you. When you think about elections, you think about, why do people vote who they vote for? And do they look at the campaign platform and they say, well, I am aligned with 5 out of his 7 bullet points?
Yeah.
Or do they just say, I like the guy?
Yeah.
Or I like the person?
Yeah.
Or, I've known him for years.
Right.
Our kids grew up together.
Yeah.
It's
all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? It's very hard. The political process is a complicated one.
It is.
Yeah.
And sometimes things don't make sense. If you try to apply reason and logic and rationality, you go crazy.
No, it's absolutely true. And I'm not going to make any specifics, but I see people who have, a Voss sign, and I know where they live, and I know what's happening in that particular area, and I got to really wonder. Do you really know what's going? And maybe there's people the other way too. I'm not, as a general thing, not just for the mayor.
Sure.
It's just people vote in ways. Well, it goes up and down the national and state. They vote against what you would think would be their interests.
Oh yeah, Californians do that all the time.
You're kind of really voting against your own interests, and so you must have some other reason. I don't know what it is.
Well, I've heard a person say this, and most people say that you vote according to your pocketbook, but there's countless examples where people don't do that. So what a person told me, he says people vote according to what their moral values are, what they believe is right.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
yep.
And for some people, they believe it's right to sacrifice, and so other people can gain. And there's a lot of I can see that side of it, but some people, will vote against their own interests because they think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and so it's the one thing I'm sure you went through it. I know you did. It's unpredictable for sure.
Oh,
it's
completely.
You'll go talk to someone and you'll say something that you think they've got to agree with it. I know where this person lives, and they'll come at you at an angle and say, no, I don't like that because you're like, wow, I never thought of that. And either they'll open up your eyes or you'll say, that's some strange logic.
Yeah.
So one or the other.
Yeah. The people, they all have interesting motivations on who people vote for.
Yeah.
So the good news for you is you're getting your message out.
Well, thanks to you, John.
Oh, well, I do what I can. But, there's candidate forums. And, I was at the candidate forum at Poway Rec Center. And, for the most part, you were the only mayor candidate that was there.
Yeah, that was nice.
Emily Johnson, she was there for a brief moment.
Yeah.
I know Yuri couldn't attend or chose not to attend, and the mayor had some family obligations.
Right.
You had the stage more or less to yourself.
Although at a minute at a time.
Yeah. Hard to get.
Hard at a minute's tough, John.
It is tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to share what you really believe.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the minute is almost, for you, but in general, it's like a canned thing. It's rehearsed, or at least in this format, we're getting to know you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So more about you. Why did you move to Seville?
Oh, great question. My wife's mother was born in Spain. My wife was born in America, but she still has cousins, uncles back there, and her parents were professors, so she spent a lot of summers there. And in fact, she did a year there where they had a sabbatical, and they spent a year in Spain as well. And so she just wanted that same experience for our kids.
Nice.
And I had a job where I worked from home. and we were able to move over there, and I just worked out of Spain.
So you work for an American company.
I worked for myself. I had
Okay.
customers worldwide.
Okay.
And
Good.
yeah, it was amazing. It was back, I had to make a lot of phone calls, and cell phone, hadn't gotten so cheap. So I had like big cell phone bills,
Well, sure.
$600, $700, $800 cell phone bills a month, but it was worth it. It was.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
worth
Well,
it,
what a great experience.
Yeah. My kids, the 3 older kids, all fluent in Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have a funny, Sevillano accent. That was
Okay,
interesting.
it probably kicks in every once in a while,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It was funny. Is my grandfather was born in Ireland, and so
okay.
when he gets around other Irish people, suddenly the brogue starts coming out, and you're
Sure,
like, "Where
sure.
did this come from?"
Yeah.
So,
Where are you from, actually? Where'd you grow up?
San Francisco.
Okay,
I was born in San Francisco and raised in a town called Burlingame.
Okay. Okay.
But I think it's great that your children had a chance to live abroad, because you hear people say that's one of the complaints of some Americans is that they haven't really experienced the world.
Absolutely.
And so your children got a chance to live in a different culture, a different language, different values.
Yep.
They got to live in a mixed use commercial residential.
Yeah. One of the highlights. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. I mean, what years were you there?
It was during the second big fire.
That was 07.
Yeah, so we were right around there. So my kids were 3, 5, and 6, and we threw them right into the Spanish public school system. It was an incredible thing. It was a shocker.
Yeah.
But 6 weeks they were probably speaking like really good Spanish.
Really?
And then
Wow.
say at 6 months, they were making fun of my Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Okay.
They had this little saying, and I don't want to say it, but they realized that I was a horrible Spanish speaker by 6 months.
Because that's what they say. Like young children, it's when the best time to learn a language.
Oh, like a sponge.
And what a great thing is that you're in San Diego. They can practice it all the time.
Well, true, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and they could probably talk about the nuances between Spain Spanish,
there's different words, yeah,
and what's spoken from Mexico and Latin America.
Exactly.
Wow, I think that's awesome. Now, where is Seville? Where is that? Is it part of what's the?
Andalusia.
Okay, but there's a part of Spain that's trying to secede, Catalonia.
No, this is the exact opposite. This is like the most Spanish of Spain. They love the king, and I think if they had their choice, they'd still be under the king down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where is it, geographically in the country?
Southwest.
Southwest. So kind of near Portugal.
Heading towards Portugal. Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's on a river, the Guadalquivir, and so even though it's about an hour inland, is effectively a port town because it was a navigable river. And for example, Columbus's boats were built in a town just outside of Seville.
Really?
And they were launched from more or less Seville.
Seville. I said Seville.
Seville. Well, that's the old English kind of way of saying it, like
the
Peking
barber.
or whatever. Yeah. But it's starting. We're getting away from that now, right? I guess we still say Rome, but instead of Roma, so
Yeah.
say Seville instead of Sevilla. But
The climate there is similar to San Diego, isn't
very
it?
similar.
Yeah.
Extremely similar. Warm summers, mild winters. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you're kind of on the western edge of the continent.
Yeah.
Kind of like we are,
Yeah.
and I guess latitude-wise, it's similar, right?
Yeah. For some strange reason, it's kind of. You kind of subtract 20 degrees, so it's actually like New Jersey, but everything is warm. It's kind of like, I guess, Seattle on this side. I can't really explain.
I know what you mean. It's that they don't align.
Yeah, it's just offset by like 20 degrees. Everything is.
But the climate's similar.
Yes, the climate's similar. A little hotter in the summer. Like the dead summer is Phoenix-like.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Wow.
because it is an hour inland.
Okay.
So you get some really, really 105 degree days.
Oh, wow.
But other than that, the winter is very, very pleasant.
So do they all escape to the coast like our friends in Arizona?
Yep. They all head to the coast, and that's really nice. They have a great lifestyle there, John. Great lifestyle.
Wow. So you were there for 2 years?
Yeah.
And then you decided to come back?
Almost stayed. Almost did.
Really?
Almost did.
But you had it in your mind. You're going to be the mayor of Poway.
Yeah,
so I got to come back.
Here, yeah.
Right?
Somewhere deep down in there. Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've never had a chance to live abroad, but I think it's terrific that you
I'll tell you,
that.
the thing that made it special is when you have kids, okay? Because what happens is your kids go to the school,
Yeah.
and eventually they make friends once they learn how to talk.
Well,
And
Yeah.
then you become friends with their friends' parents,
oh, yeah, just like in Poway.
just like in Poway.
Yeah.
And then you're brought into the community. Someone has that beach house or someone has the house in the campo, like I guess the country, I don't know, the farmhouse I guess would
Yeah.
be. They'll invite you for those excursions.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then you become integrated with the community. If you're just there as a business person, let's say working there, even if you're there for 2 years, you'll get in a little bit, but you won't have that deep, or put it this way, it's a lot easier if you have the bond with the kids to become part of the community.
It's just like Poway.
Yeah.
And I mean, so many of the friends that we have here are as a result of our children's
Correct.
friends.
Yeah.
And people we met at the ball field at Aubrey Park for softball, or people we met at Little League, or met in the gymnasiums when our kids were playing basketball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even soccer. Yeah. What's funny is Kimberly Beatty, who's on the school board, was my daughter's soccer coach like 15 years ago, 14 years ago. So we knew her long before she ran for school board.
You were president of the league when I was, I think, in minor A. So you were president of Poway National.
That was in 2012.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's how I kind of got to know you. And then
Yeah.
you ran for the school board, right?
Oh, came up just short. Lost by 1%.
Oh, really?
1%. Yeah.
Wow.
There were 8 people running. They took the top 3, and I finished in 4th.
Wow. I did not realize it was that close.
Yeah, it was.
Wow, that would have changed history, I think. I think we'd be in a different place right now.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
So now I do podcasts.
You didn't really want another bite at that, huh?
I considered it. A lot of people encouraged me to run, but I said my youngest is just graduated.
Right.
And so, my interest in the school district is still significant,
High,
but it's
not
a
quite
couple
as-
of notches
yeah.
down. There's a lot of chaos there, a lot of problems that need to be solved.
There's a lot of money, a lot of conflicting interests.
Yes.
This job, mayor, is like nothing compared to the issues you're going to deal with on the board of the Poway Unified. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
the budget's like 3 times the size.
It's 3 times, and any move you make is going to be scrutinized from 5 different ways, and that's a tough job. Let's just put it that way.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating race. And you said you watched Charles Sellers' podcast. It was unbelievable what he had to share.
Oh my gosh. I mean, when someone opens up like that and you hear the inside scoop, it just blows you away, right? Because you can't believe the system's operating with a guy like that at the head. It's just the system's just operating on its own inertia. And the guy at the top is just enriching himself, right?
We're talking about Collins.
Yeah, Collins, not him. No, I'm talking about Collins.
Yeah.
And you just can't believe that's going on.
Oh, it is unbelievable. I mean, we can go. I mean, that's a squirrely path, but I want to focus on you. You're the mayor, or you're hoping to be the mayor. Pardon me. So, what else is big on your platform that you want to share?
All right. Well, let's talk Stoneridge.
There's more there. Okay, good.
So, a ton more. So Stoneridge is it's an emotional issue, I guess. You got a big plot of land in a nice area. You've got a place with a lot of history. You have a crazy developer from out of town, and you had a contentious vote. You had a contentious vote that created a lot of anger between a lot of people. So there's a lot of issues there. You got golfers. Golf is maybe a polarizing sport, I guess. It's got a certain image. Country club image, even though a public course is completely different. So just a lot going on there. My thing is let's take away the emotion. Let's step back, okay? And let's pretend this place was never a golf course. Let's pretend the whole, everything that happened in the past never happened, okay? And all we have now is a 117-acre plot of land in the middle of a bunch of other houses, which makes it especially interesting from a public use standpoint. Okay, we've got a lot of open space, but an open space on the top of a hill, half a mile from any other house is not as interesting or as useful, potentially useful as this plot in the middle of a nice area of Poway, right?
Yeah.
So, and it has a value. It has a zoning. It has an OSR zoning.
What does that stand for?
Open space recreational. Okay. So that means you can use it for recreational purposes, and there you can conduct commercial activity related to those recreational purposes or any ancillary commercial activity that goes along with it. It was set, as part of the city plan. What planning they did, they decided to set this place aside for recreational purposes, and I think that was a smart move. I think it's good to have where it is. And let's say it's worth a certain amount of money. Now, let's say it's worth $2 to $3 million
in its current zoning. Yeah, because if it was zoned residential, it'd be my goodness, 20, 30 times that amount, right?
Of course, right.
Yeah.
But in its current zoning, which was in place when the owner bought it,
right?
To be clear,
right?
It's only worth about $3 million,
right?
And the tax rolls say that, and the owner himself has said it's worth less than that. By the way, in publicly filed documents, just stripping all that away, you ask yourself, would it be a reasonable move for the city or you or me, let's say, to buy this land at that price? And if I'm there and all the other stuff is not being considered, I have to say, my gosh, yes, we can do something with that. There's a use for that land that will benefit all of Poway.
So about $1.5 million, let's just assume, if it's like a little bit less than $2.
Well, no, let's go worst case. Let's go $3 million.
$3 million.
Yeah, $3 million.
Okay.
Probably little more than the price of a nice house around these parts. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. But yeah, I hear you. I mean, because it's a bargain.
It's a bargain
when you think of it in terms of the amount of space compared to what
and the location right, and the potential community benefit you can have.
Sure,
it's a no-brainer, right? And so at that point, I say, all right, that's the dispassionate intellectual decision that you should make. Now, there's a few more issues. Guy doesn't want to sell. Okay, we know that, but there's vehicles in place to take care of that. And they're not controversial. They're used regularly. They're routine.
Well, you're talking eminent domain.
I'm talking eminent domain.
Right.
And so when a property is desired for public use, and in this particular case, not only is it desired, it has been specifically set aside by the city for public recreational use or for open space recreational use. Then the city has a right, the ability to take it. With just compensation for the owner, as determined by a court.
Right.
Okay. And if the court would determine that it's $2 to $3 million, that's what we would pay him, and that would be just compensation, and it would be highly moral. Okay. And I know some people have issues with eminent domain, but this case does not fall into any of the categories that anybody should have a problem with. This is not taking a 40-year-old family home or a 100-year-old family farm. This is an out-of-town developer who bought it at a bank sale sight unseen, and is using it to hold the community hostage and trying to force us to develop it at the end of a gun. Okay, so there's no moral justification or defense of not using eminent domain in this
unless you
particular
believe
case.
in property rights.
But the property rights are protected by the just compensation.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, but this is a big idea. This is a big issue.
Big issue.
Yeah, but let's just go down your path, because I'm not a fan of eminent domain for a number of reasons. But let's just go down your path of executing the plan that you've presented.
Yeah. Okay. So you do that, and that's going to tack on another 30%. So the lawyers, basically.
Yeah.
So
sure.
So instead of paying a real estate agent 6%. You're going to pay some lawyers 30%. Okay, so it's a little bit more cost. Okay?
Right.
So you're getting up to about $3 to $4 million. Okay.
Right. Right.
Now you got to fix the golf course. Okay. This is where it's exciting. Even in its horrible state that it's in right now, it's probably you can probably get that thing up and running for a fraction of the cost that would be necessary to open a golf course with the virgin land, okay? In terms of
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, all you got to do is fix the greens, which is about $40,000 a green.
$40,000 a green, really?
Yeah,
Wow. Now, I know that they're expensive, and I know they take a lot of really personal care.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
$40,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
the estimate I got.
That's like almost $1 million to do the whole course.
Yeah, actually, I'm saying $1.5 million. $1.5 million
Yeah.
to recondition the whole course.
Okay.
So you're up to about 5.5.
We're just million here, a million there.
But this, you got to, once you do that, that's a capital investment that'll last 30 years. You just got to spread that over a long period of time.
Assuming that they can show an operating profit from year to year.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But so you've got that going. Then you can deal with the clubhouse and all that stuff, and you're going to get 9 tennis courts thrown in there too.
Right.
Okay. So the vision. If I'm elected mayor and I have a board that I can convince, like I'm convincing you here, I'm sure.
Okay. Sure. Make your case.
That we'll have that thing assessed.
Well, this would be like one of the parks.
Yeah, this is a park.
Yeah.
We'll have that thing assessed first month. We'll make the offer, and we'll say, hey, if you want to run it, if you want to reopen it, Mr. Property Rights, okay, you can reopen it.
Right.
Let's make it happen. But if you're not going to reopen it, then this city needs recreational facilities, including a golf course.
Right.
Okay. I think that's anything. A golf course is something. A public golf course is something that any, city, of the type that I think we should be imitating has. Okay, so you're talking Coronado, you're talking Encinitas, you're talking Carlsbad.
Yeah.
You're talking, now some of the you got, now these aren't public, but you got Forest Ranch, you got, geez, I can't remember the name of that. In Del Sur, you have the Crosby. And the other, Del Sur has its own course. Forest Ranch has its other one. The name escapes me right now. You got Rancho Santa Fe. They got a course right in the middle of there.
Oh, yeah.
The Covenant. So I think, it's
so every community needs a golf course.
I think so. I think it speaks well to your community. That's just my opinion. But you make the offer. He doesn't take it. You go to court. You can get, because he's not using it, there's provisions that the city can get control of it before the case is decided.
Right.
So you might be able to take possession of that thing in 3 to 5 months. Okay.
While the eminent domain's being settled
the
up.
price, all it would be the price on the back end.
Right,
would be what they talk about. And if you've got a good appraiser, you're going to have confidence it's going to be around that price. Okay, it might be 10% higher, it might be 10% lower.
But golf courses are closing. Isn't Carmel Mountain closing?
Just wait. Let me.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So the first thing I did.
I'm debating you. I don't want to do that.
The fence comes down. The fence comes down. The tennis courts opened up. Poway people are already getting utility out of it. They're playing tennis, okay?
Right. And I know the tennis people were really bummed out.
Yeah. People can start walking their dogs on there. They can start using
the dogs are the dogs are back now.
Dogs.
Okay.
You can have your dog out there, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, John Ryan will bring his dogs out. He's a big dog guy.
John Ryan can walk around there. And then, 6 months after that, we start the reconditioning of the course. We're up and playing. We got golf going on there next summer. Okay.
Next summer.
Okay. I'm saying that's a reasonable possibility. Okay.
Right. If some decisions were made like in the short term here,
and a few favorable decisions. Now,
like you being elected mayor.
Well, that'll be the first one. Now, now let's look at the alternative. I'm not elected a mayor. What happens? That thing, even under, now we're going to talk about this, by the way, even under the crazy Fruitopia plan that Kevin's talking about, nothing.
Fruitopia?
Isn't that what it's called?
I don't know. I haven't heard that term.
Called Fruitopia.
Okay, so that's a real name.
I thought it was in the paper.
I believe you.
Okay.
I haven't heard that.
I'm sure people will hit me up on Facebook.
That's a funny name. Okay. Yeah.
So that can't nothing. So nothing happens for 2 years, right?
Oh yeah.
Just sitting there for 2 years plus a couple of months because the election hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Then you have the vote. Well, the most likely, based on a historical analysis, it fails, and we're back to square one. So you've just wasted 2 years. Now maybe he threads the needle and it passes. If it passes, you still got 2 years of trucks and construction and junk going on there till you get something usable. Okay,
That's
at least
right.
18 months.
That's
okay?
right.
So you're talking
at least
about 4 years. And assuming you want it, which I frankly don't, but if 4 years to get something, you like me, next summer there's tennis, there's golf, maybe there's even pool, there's guys like you walking your dog, and we're all enjoying it, John. We're all enjoying it for about the price, a little more than the price of redoing the pool down in Poway Road, down in Poway Community Center, which I think was like $3 million, right? Am I wrong?
Not quite that much,
Okay.
but yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
I know from a scale perspective, I got
scale,
it.
It's on the...
Yeah.
All right? And then young couples coming to move here. What do you got to offer me, Poway? Oh, well, we've got, trails, we've got Poway Lake. Oh, and we've got this great public golf course with 9 tennis courts that anybody in Poway can use, okay? And by the way, kids golf for $10, okay? Because that's my thing. It's a family-friendly golf course. So kids, Poway kids golf for almost nothing. So if you're a family, you can go your 2 kids, you and your wife, 2 kids, you and your buddy, his kid, can go for $100, $120. Maybe in a Twilight, you're going to get out of there for like $50, $60. Getting people together, getting people to doing stuff, all right? You get the clubhouse opened up again. You make that a public meeting facility. So now, what happens now, John? When your softball team wants to have their dinner, they got to go to Rancho Bernardo, okay?
Because they used to go to Stoneridge.
They used to go to Stoneridge, right?
Yeah. So
now we have to me, it's like always a little bit of an embarrassment when I have to go to Bernardo Heights to have my Poway, team dinner or celebration for my kids' team.
Yeah.
And anyways, it's just a little pet peeve. So
that's a legit point. It is. It is.
So that's what you got. And the other part, at best, you got 4 years from now, and you got construction, you got trucks, you got everything going on there. It's a big headache. Okay.
Right.
Now, just to show you, I'm not crazy. And some people say, like, somebody said, well, it's going to cost $12 million, and I'll say, I don't think it will, but if it costs anything more than like 6, even 6, 7, I want to say 6. I'm not going to do it. I'm not crazy. What I see is an opportunity to sneak a golf course in there on the cheap. That's, if I could summarize my campaign, that part of my campaign, that's what it is. You got a chance to sneak this in quick and easy on the cheap, get it back going. It should have been done last year, frankly. If it's $12 million, no, it doesn't make sense. Of course,
yeah.
Then that's a whole.
But
different thing.
it's a good selling point.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're saying, hey, kids golf for $10, and hey, we're going to have tennis courts, and anybody can use them. And that's a great selling point.
And we're going to reconfigure it because I've done a little homework. I went to Coronado and used their golf courses, and they create these paths like along the side of the golf course with really nice fences that bend over the top and really protect you. And people can hike and walk their dogs through the course.
Yeah, I've ridden my bike around the Coronado Golf Course.
Yes,
It's nice.
It's so nice, right?
Yeah, it is.
And
It
so
is.
that I want to create a few of those in there. We're going to move a few holes, restructure a little bit so we get some of these paths that you can walk through there. And so that the dog walker, just the pedestrian can take advantage of it
And not get hit by
a ball in the back of the head, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
So that's kind of the sales pitch there, and that's kind of the two visions of what you got. More in a larger perspective, this would be part of my $12 million invest in Poway neighborhoods kind of campaign.
Oh, wow. Okay, now we're talking here. Now we got some slogans going on.
And maybe even more.
Okay, good.
Where I think we need to spend, which over a course of 4 years of mayor's term, that's only $3 million a year,
right?
If my math's correct. And that's where you're going to go do the Poway Park. You're going to go to Stoneridge, or you're going to find maybe some new parks, pocket parks probably, but and do just a complete top-to-bottom analysis of what we got in Pier and Poway, and update what we need to update, add what we need to add, protect what we need to protect. Okay, so for example, Arbolito Swim and Tennis Club. I mean, it's so obvious that what happened to Stoneridge could happen on a smaller scale to that place.
That could happen. Yeah,
exactly. Let's get out in front of that right now. Let's talk to the owner of that, and I already have actually, and find a deal where Poway can exercise. Should something happen to it, Poway has a chance to exercise some control before it goes into the hands of another owner. Or
interesting.
Yeah.
So that's private land.
Yes, that's private land, and it's owned OSRs. I believe, just like Stoneridge.
Oh yeah. That makes sense.
And I've talked to the owner, and she said, I'd love to sit down at a table and talk to someone about that. I'm getting old. I'm not, going to run this thing forever.
Yeah, and it's a nice facility, but it shows a little wear and tear.
A little wear and tear.
Yeah,
but a lot of people use it. A lot of people can send their camp to the.
Yes.
It's a cheap camp,
a lot of swimming going on. I mean, they have teams.
No,
exactly. It's huge.
Exactly. In fact, Cal, my star player, was also a swimmer.
Back to your Diamondbacks from minor B. Yeah, cool.
So you can take this down the line. You can take this to, and these. I don't want to. I may get a nasty letter because I haven't talked to these other people, but North County Soccer Park. Let's take a look at that. What can we do to lock that in? And if it's not going to be a soccer park, something recreational.
Well, that whole piece of land there is interesting because that's where they were going to put the veterans housing.
Well, in that a little extra section, right?
Yeah.
They weren't going to take out the...
No. But it's that one part that's sort of fenced off,
right,
and it's parking for the rodeo, which is about to start, right? So what are your thoughts on the whole veterans housing piece?
Well, I mean, I think... I don't know about location, okay? I haven't done enough details in that, but obviously it's a great idea because I can't think of a group of people that's going to be less problematic than veterans. And and you've got a group that's got the money ready to go, is my understanding, right?
Yeah, they had a group, and then that group fell out. But I know that there's a group of people in town that feel very passionately. That's what Jim Cunningham was really pushing,
right.
And I know Mayor Voss has talked about doing some things, but when John Ryan was here yesterday, he was saying like really nothing has been happening.
Yeah, help me out on that. So I thought it was going at Big Canyon Lodge, done deal. It was happening. Is that not the case?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I do know that there was discussion of it. There was an article in the Chieftain. I know the mayor had proposed that as a potential spot for it. That building, it needs to be condemned.
Right.
It needs to be blown up and started over. But I don't know the status. I know the city owns that land.
Right. So that's right. That's easy, right?
So I don't know if there's been any progress on, the veterans housing, or if they've talked to contractors. I don't know.
Okay. So I thought it was a done deal, and I swear I read in the city budget that they had sold it for a profit. It's the craziest thing. So I really must be dreaming. Or
well, there's another piece of land that they're providing for special needs adults.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking about.
And that's on where Oak Knoll and Pomerado Road intersect.
Okay.
There's a big lot there that's like an overflow for Perry Ford.
Okay.
And maybe the other auto dealers too. And I think that piece of land is going to be, I think they call it Via de, I can't remember the complete name, but it's a special needs housing for adults.
Okay.
So maybe that might be the one you're thinking of.
All right. Well, all I know is in the budget, and I'm just going to give one more little Stoneridge thing here. They bought some land a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, and they didn't use it for the intended purpose. And I believe they sold it, and there was like a $1.8 million line item for an unallocated $1.8 million from this sale of this property. And they bought it, I believe, for much less than that. I think they bought it for $1 million or something. And so this now I'm pretty sure about this, and this gets to Stoneridge. So out of that $5 million or $6 million you're going to spend, 2 or 3 of it's for the land.
Right.
That's not a true expense. I don't know if you're counting or if you,
No, I'm not.
That's just buying an asset. That's buying a non-liquid asset with some liquid assets, right?
Right.
And so, if everything goes wrong, right, thing goes sideways, you still got this asset for $2-3 million that you can either resell or repurpose. Okay, and maybe resell it. And you do something with it, but it's on a much smaller scale than it's being talked about. That's more comfortable for the people around here.
So the city should get in the business of flipping property.
Here's what I'm going to say: it reduces the risk. Okay.
Oh, okay. From that, I get that.
You see what I'm saying? If you say, "Oh, it's very risky to buy Stoneridge because the golf course could fail."
Yeah.
Again, it's going to be like a more than a golf course. It's community center, tennis, hopefully more than. But just assuming it's golf, and you're going to lose your $6 million. You won't lose the whole $6 million. You're going to lose some of it, but you're still going to have this land that you can either sell or use in another way. That is not a loss. That's not a loss. So the real risk is only about the money used for the lawyers and to recondition it. That's your only real risk.
Right. And then if the golf course operationally is losing money,
you shut it down.
You can shut it down, or you can choose to put some tax dollars into it to subsidize it, because they already do that with the pool.
If it's so popular, and it maybe it's so popular, and they decide to do it.
Those are options.
It's certainly, if it loses, it's going to lose a little bit. And if it makes money, I mean, in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars, this is not going to, you're not going to lose $1 million on it, and you're not going to make $1 million on it. This is something that the profit margins is about $100,000 to $200,000 either way, right?
Well, I like the fact that you're putting ideas on the table, because right now, the land is fallow. It's an eyesore. The people are upset.
Right.
It's just ugly. And obviously the owner's trying to call everyone's bluff, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So, you got Kevin McNamara's working on a plan, okay? Yeah. But there's no other alternatives, at least right now.
And even Kevin's hands are tied for basically a period of 4 years. Now, I know he'll be doing something in the back 2 years should it succeed, but no one's using it. No one's going to be using it at that point. And then you might wait those 2 years. In fact, I believe you probably will wait those 2 years and have another failure. And now where are you? You need to take this thing, take control of the situation. And who knows, maybe you put, 20 or 30 condos on there later. Maybe the 55 plus goes there, something like that on a smaller scale. But the city gets to decide that, you don't get one size, it's not an all or nothing
right.
at the hands of a developer.
So look at you, you're leading. You're being a leader right now.
I
like it.
I'm from the East Coast. The mayors are more powerful there. So I'm used to that style.
All right,
okay?
right. I hear you.
And I don't know, it might not appeal to people over here. So there's less risk there on the downside. And okay, here's my final point.
Okay, good.
Just restating the same thing, but if we buy it and it screws up, we can always put condos there later. If you put condos there, you'll never be able to put a golf course. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Mine's reversible. Developing is irreversible. You see what I'm saying?
I understand the difference.
Again, so it's a low. People say it's very risky to get a golf course. I'm saying mine's the lower risk option because you could undo everything. Everything I do can be undone. What happens on the other side can't be undone.
Right. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought of it in those terms, but I get you. I hear you. Wow.
And all right, and just so for the people listening, we maybe focus. The other thing that's going to happen when I'm mayor is we're going to call up
when I'm mayor. Man, I like the
call up
confidence.
Meridian Sudbury, and we're going to say, hold that contract because we're using 2 acres of that land that we were talking about to make the park bigger.
Yeah.
So just readjust your plan, readjust your price. But we're gonna and that's gonna start very quickly. And so I don't know if that land would be ready for use in the next summer, but we get that park going as quickly as possible for the people who live down there. Okay, so
you're talking about major kind of almost a park revolution.
I want to call it an upgrade. I want to call it a reset.
A reset. Okay, I hear you.
Or replanning, and it's because of these other communities. The Forest Ranch, the Del Surs, which are kind of blowing us away. Frankly, they're you go over there and they're beautiful. Now, they don't have the charm and the country feel that we have. It's not my style, frankly.
Right. Yeah.
But they got stuff that's nice.
Oh yeah, they totally do. Absolutely.
Right? So let's try to grab some of the good stuff without taking some of the bad stuff. Right. Yeah.
Wow, good stuff there. So, what else is left?
I'm trying to look here.
We've covered so much ground. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to ask you, do you have anything to disclose here, John?
Disclose?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, you're listed on my opponent's website as a supporter.
Right.
Okay.
So I'll tell you the story. So in 2014, when I ran for school board, Steve Voss was running for mayor.
Okay.
And we got to know each other.
Yep.
And we were both supportive of each other.
Yep.
And so...
was anybody else supportive of you, John?
Yeah, you were.
I was. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you were.
All right.
And thank you.
I think it was, I think my instincts were correct. Let's put it that way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I got to know Mayor Voss at the time. He was a city councilman, and when you're a candidate, even if one's in the city council side and one's on the Poway school board, you still travel these events, and so we were always looking out for each other. Like, back then there were a lot more signs around town, and like people were, you wouldn't believe the hijinks that people would do to sabotage signs. So we would, the two of us would help each other. If we saw someone's sign was knocked down, we'd help each other. So anyways, I formally endorsed him in 2014. I'm still generally a supporter of the mayor, but I don't agree with everything he does.
No. I'm fine. I'm kind of kidding you.
No,
but
that's a fair question.
As a podcast for the viewer,
it's a fair question because I know my name is on his website. So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what else I can say about that.
Just so people know who are watching.
Of course. Yeah. So I'm hoping Mayor Voss comes on the podcast, and I'm hoping that we can. I know that Yuri's going to be joining us.
Great.
Okay, and I'm hopeful that Emily will come on the podcast too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage, if you're listening and watching, I encourage you to come and talk to John. It's a good experience.
Right on. Okay, good. That was fun. I was put on the spot there for a moment, but I like that. That's good. That's healthy. Yeah, right on. Okay, so anything else we need to cover?
No, unless I know you're on the park committee.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I know the dog park thing, which is really helpful. I guess I would say a lot of these parks have old softball fields.
Yeah.
Are those functionally, obsolete now, or do you think people are using them for softball?
Well, what softball that does occur is minimal. I mean, if you go out onto the Silverset lot, I mean, that field is awful.
Right. It doesn't use very. And same with the baseball field at the other park. I think it's Stoneridge. I don't know how much use that gets.
That one's awful too. And when we were back when my kids were at Little League, we tried to make Stoneridge functional as a practice field, but it just needed so much work. So the fields that. Some of those ball fields, like Stoneridge, you put your feet in the batter's box. It's like you're at the beach, and then the outfield grass is like really thick, and the the infield dirt is like, almost like 90-foot base depth.
Correct.
So yeah, that needs a lot of help.
I mean, I almost think, and I'm a huge baseball guy.
Right.
But I feel like maybe one or two of those should just be, made into grass and soccer, more soccer style. There's more soccer going on with those type of sports. We still need lots of baseball fields, but I feel like some of them just aren't used for that purpose.
Not. No, they're not. And so, that was a proposal I put in front of the Parks and Rec Committee, is to transform those fields into tournament level.
Yeah.
And, we got, it was a nice conversation topic, but it really didn't go very far. And then we were trying to set up some meetings with the Poway Sports Council, and we just never really got much traction there. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that could be done there. And the one idea I always had for Silverset was to accommodate the field, to keep it so it's still a functional practice field for girls softball, and to accommodate the dogs, is that you could have built a kind of a shallow outfield fence, right? So then you have a smaller diamond for the softball, and then you have this sort of, 25% of a donut, in the outfield that could have been enclosed.
Yeah, that would work fine.
And I know that was discussed at our Parks and Rec Committee, but I know that our Parks and Rec group, we meet like once a quarter, sometimes only 3 times a year. I've been on the committee maybe 2 years. And lately it's been a lot about the Cafagna Center, the upgrade to the community center. There's been some discussion about the pool.
Actually, let's hit that real quick.
Sure.
For me, I don't know. I go to the people down in that area. I go to South Poway and I talk to them, and they're more concerned with it closing for the 18 months that it's going to be closed than the actual remodel. And then the tear down and then the new structure. And they think that a remodel would have it closed for a shorter period of time, which is probably true, and obviously would save money. So it's like this weird message that from the people who are down there. Now I have to go talk to some seniors, but
well, people don't like change, right? So I think that's a big part of it, and it's going to be disruptive.
But it would save a lot of money, and if you just remodeled that thing. And I don't know too much about the building where the senior center is, but the place where they had the candidate forum did not look that bad to me.
Yeah, that's an older building too, but I think a lot of my understanding, the way it's been explained to me, is a lot of the infrastructure, it's like the underlying plumbing and electrical is just really a mess.
It's really bad. Yeah, that's like Charger the stadium there. Yeah. So it could be true.
And their analysis has been that the ongoing maintenance was
will
just
exceed, right?
Yeah, it was just getting to the point where it's like, what are we doing here? So, and then meanwhile, there's a lot of community groups that are clamoring for more, meeting space and different things. But the unfortunate thing is that they're trying to fit it within a budget. They've got this, really idyllic kind of plan, but the longer it's been delayed, the more expensive it gets, and now the smaller the building is becoming.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I understand it's a public finance issue because you're trying to swallow the thing in one big bite. And obviously it should be financed, but it's impossible to do public finance stuff. So I understand the problem. To me, I lean towards kind of dodging, fixing it and either waiting or putting up a bond. Maybe they'd pass a bond. Who knows? Maybe Poway voters would pass it.
Well, one of the rooms is the bail bond room, right? Which I always used to think, is that the bail bond room?
The bail bond room.
Is this like King Stallman? I mean, it's clear that I think they need to do something there.
I feel like it's creating a lot of stress on the city budget. Let's just put it that way. And frankly,
it is. It's expensive.
I hit the mayor on being a Sandag guy and not being part of the neglect. But I think it also is fear of that project. The fear of the community center is preventing them from spending money on all this other stuff that I would like to do.
Well, they made a list of all the kind of priorities where they wanted to apply some of that surplus. Yeah. And the Cafagna Center has been in the number one position for a long time. Well, and the Espola project that's going on right now.
Yeah.
So the unfortunate thing is they keep doing it and then reworking the plan and the plan, and there's different versions, and it just keeps getting the more time goes on, the more expensive it becomes.
And it's a snake swallowing the rabbit, and it's this big lump in the middle of the snake.
Yeah.
Sometimes that makes you not want to run from there because you got to deal with a problem like that, and it's just a very hard problem.
All right, well, I think we've covered a lot here. So Brian Edmonston, he's the candidate for mayor of Poway, for chairman of the board. I'll joke about that. Okay, yeah,
no,
well, good for you.
No open seat 2-year thing for me.
No, you're stepping up. You want to lead. You want to be the big man in the city to take us to a place that you believe is going to be an upgraded amenities in the city of Poway, better parks, a more well thought out plan for the Poway Road Corridor. Yep. You have some innovative ideas on how to transform Stoneridge. We've gone through that in detail. You're family guy, and you got kids in the schools here. And
I'm going to be connected to the community.
So you're connected to the community.
A long time to come. I got a kid in 4th grade. Fifth grade.
Yeah, so you're going to be seeing parents and kids, and you're going to be out in the parks and the fields.
You'll see me on the ball field. You'll see me on the soccer field.
Exactly. So that's actually a big selling point, because you're right, because you do become more connected. And I know that as my son got older, I mean, he was our youngest, so we have 2 children, and the older he got, the less connected I felt in the community, right?
It's I'm hanging around with all these young people, John. They got a lot of energy. They're exciting.
Right on. Good. They're like, who's this Brian guy with the gray hair? We're not there yet.
I get some funny looks. I do. I get some funny looks.
Okay, so we're going to see you at the Green Valley Civic Association event on October 3rd.
Yep.
And hey, Brian, I wish you well. I wish you greatest luck. I think you have some great ideas. And I'm looking forward to the campaign and how it's going to roll out.
Well, thanks for doing so much for the community, John. A lot of people don't know all the stuff you do, and John's very active, and he helps out, makes Poway a better place.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.